Okay, let's go over the treatment plan for Svetlana. And obviously the treatment plan is not to cure or treat Parkinson's disease. The treatment plan is try to improve her brain function and see if we can improve her brain endurance and her mitochondrial function. It's very clear from the examination findings that anything that activates her frontal lobe and fatigues it then causes her rigidity and her tremors to really turn on. So if we can do some things to help efficiency with her brain mitochondrial levels, then we may be able to improve her daily function and her energy levels and maybe impact her on and off days. Time will tell. Everything's unpredictable when you're dealing with a progressive neurodegenerative disease, and also when a person is taking, an MAO inhibitor and then levodopa and then a dopamine agonist, and these things are all combining with an angiotensin 2 inhibitor. So there's a lot of things that can get in the way, but we want to really look at some of the mechanisms we can to make things more efficient. A lot of the principles we'll be going over are things that we discussed in the pain and fatigue course, where we look at optimizing mitochondrial biogenesis and mitophagy and autophagy, and trying to really support mitochondrial ATP production and so forth. So my diet recommendation for her is to do a ketogenic diet and then confirm with serum ketones, and then eventually progress to time-restricted feeding once keto adaptation has occurred. So I want her to eventually get into the point where she can promote autophagy and mitophagy. So if she can get into periods where, first we want to see if she can get fat adapted. She had some problems with the ketogenic diet in the past, so we want to see if she can do that. And if she can get into ketosis, that would be ideal. And once she gets into ketosis for a period of time, then we can see as her body gets more efficient, more fat adapted, if she can do time-restricted fasting or time-restricted feeding, and then eventually go into some fasting. But it's going to be very unclear until we see how she responds, because she is on levodopa medication and she's in this phase of ups and downs are really causing her some problems with that Goldilocks effect pattern. So want to take some MCT oil with energy levels to really help her get some efficient fuel, especially when you really can't afford to have mitochondrials not have fuel. If mitochondria doesn't have fuel, she will develop probably rigidity and kinetic patterns. So we want her to take MCT oil all throughout the day to really help her ketone activity. We're going to measure her ketones with a ketone meter, and this is the first part of her diet. So we'll have to see if she can do this. Now, if she can't get into ketogenic diet, get into ketosis, there's a lot of research that supports the concept that it may slow down her neurodegenerative process, but more importantly, we get some efficient fuel to her mitochondria and dampen some neuroinflammation and see if that helps with her overall endurance. This is going to be something we'll have to keep an eye on and see how she responds. Now, her nutritional support is going to be basically flavonoids, antioxidants, protect the mitochondria, support mitochondrial biogenesis. So trisomal glutathione, resveratrol active, tamar active. So these are really critical. Resveratrol and turmeric have been shown to turn on the NFR2 pathway that helps with the messenger for developing mitochondria, but these also have antioxidant properties that which protect the mitochondria, especially things like glutathione. So resveratrol, turmeric, glutathione, these are all emulsified liquid sources which are highly absorbable and could play a big role in dampening neuroinflammation. And plus, all three of these compounds can cross the blood-brain barrier and help with dampening microglial activation. And they can also help with blood-brain barrier permeability, intestinal permeability. Supplements, we already talked about ketone, using ketone support, medium chain triglycerides, 2 to 3 tablespoons between breakfast and lunch, 2 to 3 tablespoons between lunch and dinner, 2 to 3 tablespoons between bedtime, anytime energy levels are low. So we want to make sure she never gets into a hypoketonemia, because it'll for sure make her symptoms much worse and she get rigidity and so forth. And then we want to support her immune system, her oral tolerance. Even though her oral tolerance wasn't so bad, she did have intestinal permeability with endotoxemia. She's already taking short-chain fatty acids. We want to make sure she continues with that, but at a higher dosage. Repair-Vite is basically nutraceuticals that are there to support intestinal permeability, things like L-glutamine and marshmallow extract and other compounds like zinc carnosine to really help heal the gut. Clearvite is a phase 1, phase 2 biotransformation nutraceutical support. And then liquid D is just vitamin D. Her vitamin Ds are always in the 40 range. You want to see if we get those up a little bit. But just trying to calm down her intestinal microbiome immune response there. And then lifestyle recommendations. So you want to develop a synchronized daily circadian rhythm with scheduled meals, exercise, and sleep. This is going to be critical to optimize her brain function. Mitochondria have their own circadian rhythms, so if we can get her schedule consistent, this would be ideal to help with her energy fluctuations throughout the day. Exercise with episodes of burst activity, such as speed walking, a burst of increased intensity. So you have to have burst activity to really promote dopamine release, dopamine activity. So you want her dopamine centers to be activated. You want her dopamine centers to put out dopamine, and slow casual walk's not going to do that. So even if she walks, she just wants some burst where she's having some increased heart rates to really get that dopamine level up. So she doesn't have to do high intensity workout. As a matter of fact, that can really make her crash. We just want some little bit of burst of activity to really get those dopamine levels off. Now, the clinical goals of management are to improve dopamine on days and reduce dopamine off days by modulating dopamine to catecholamine ratio activity and modulating diet, nutrition, lifestyle strategies. So basically, she's having at least 50% of her days are off days. We want to make sure that if we can change that, that would be ideal. Even if she's only off 40% of the time or 30% of the time, that would be much better. Optimize mitochondrial biogenesis, mitophagy, autophagy, reduce mitochondrial oxidative stress, diet, nutrition, lifestyle strategies, and all the things we're doing are basically doing that. So when you look at mitochondrial biogenesis, mitophagy, autophagy, if we can get her on a consistent circadian rhythm schedule, when she eats, when she sleeps, when she exercises, and so the nutraceuticals we're taking can turn on mitochondrial biogenesis. She get to the point where she can do intermittent fasting, time-restricted feeding. We can start to promote that autophagy, mitophagy pathway. We got to be very careful. She's very vulnerable at this point with this progression of disease, but we have to see what she can respond to. There's going to definitely be trial and error with anyone that's dealing with progressed neurodegenerative disease like she is. Then we want to monitor the following symptoms from baseline. Improve dopamine off response days from every other day to occur less often. So she's having off days like every other day. Reduce muscle dystonic pattern that is rated 8 out of 10 pain level. So that's another goal that we want to do, see if we can get her dystonic pain down. It's unlikely we're going to resolve her dystonia completely at this point. In the early stages, you can do that, but someone who's really probably had Parkinson's disease for over 20 years and has been taking levodopa for the past 7 years, these things get much harder to make big changes with. Reduce symptoms of physical tension, anxiety during dopamine off patterns, ability to sleep through the night, ability to sleep without need to sleep aid. And these can all potentially change as her brain mitochondria becomes more efficient and her fuel source to her brain mitochondria become more efficient. So we'll have to see if these things change, but these are our clinical goals. Notice that our goals are not to cure Parkinson's disease or to stop tremor. Those are not realistic at this point. And then I'm asking her for weekly emails. What's her serum ketone levels, off versus on days with levodopa therapy. Remember, off days means the medication is not working. Her rigidity, her stiffness, her tremor are all getting worse. On days is where she has very little rigidity or dystonia and is functioning pretty well. And then we want to have her tell us about her symptoms of anxiety and Parkinsonism and Parkinson's symptoms and energy levels, just to see how those are. And then if she's able to synchronize her daily routine, which is really critical for just mitochondrial function and normal circadian rhythms. So that's the initial goal of therapy. We'll have to see how she does. This is definitely an unpredictable prognosis. And at the end of the day, we may implement all these things and she's able to do these things, and it may or may not have some impact on her on or off days, and there may be potential to slow down neurodegenerative process, but it'd be very hard to tell if that's happening, because no matter everything that can be implemented, she's still going to have some degree of progression at any given time in the future. Okay, I hope that helps. Thank you.